Hey guys, it's Imperial Silver here again today. Today we're doing another discussion video. Today, as you read from the title, is which European coins you should collect, and this is kind of like a light guide, kind of after like 1500 to about 2000. It's not like really modern stuff. This is more the older stuff. So I guess you could even go like 15 to 1900, but it's a little after. That's like 1950, we'll say. And yeah, we'll just dive right in. This is just going to do European countries. If I miss your country, I'm sorry. There will be a couple smaller countries I toss in at the end. I give them a couple words, but I don't collect all the countries. I just collected more than I should. So right off the get-go, I think we should start with one of the big ones. Sort of Spanish silver. This is a pretty big favorite among people. I don't have too many, but I have enough to kind of give you guys a good idea. So obviously the older ones, you have the reals here with this different style. This is more of like a Spanish. This one technically isn't Spanish, but it would look the same. This was made in Lima, Peru, but you can get one from Spain. It would look very similar. It would have a different mint mark, which is that right there. They have, you have a half real, 1 real, 2 real, 4 real, and 8 real, and yeah, they're really nice. They look really good. They're decent high percentage. They're not exactly 90. They're round 90. They kind of move around a smidge, but they're pretty good. And then we have two from a little later, and we're not touching colonies. Just want to establish that this is just an exception. Otherwise, it'd be this video would be way too long. So if you want to see a video describing other areas of the world, maybe Africa, Asia, North America, South America, feel free to toss it in the comments down below. And yeah. Here we have, two piestas, so they moved to a piesta system, and it's a bit different. I think it goes, I don't know if it is any really different. I think they do still have kind of similar stuff. They have centimes, so they have like divisibles more so of these. This is two piestas. You have the crest there, which is fairly similar. And, this is during a Republic period, so you don't have a king. Well, not a Republic, but it's a republic because they kicked their king out, but they're looking for a new one, so it's not like most republics. Again, nice high percentage. Same with this. This one's a little bit more worn. It's been cleaned pretty heavily, sadly. They got their king back. And that's kind of Spanish silver. It's going to be like usually a high purity. It does have high premiums, which sucks. Like I never finding any really Spanish, Portuguese, Latin America silver for cheap is not what you're gonna get. You're usually gonna find it a little bit higher premiums than average. Maybe not as much as the U.S. market, but not much behind either. But it is high percentage. It's 90%. It has a nice tone to it. A lot of it has this really nice silver look. That is the thing I'm going to try and discuss in this video. Is one sec, guys. I'm going to sneeze. One sec. Sorry about that, guys. Just had had to blow my brains a bit there. Whew. Got me good. But yeah, different areas have different silver. Spain has this really nice shiny silver. It always looks good. We'll get to areas. Some areas have a little bit darker of a silver tone and stuff. But yeah, Spain, really good. And you know what? We'll even toss rating. I wasn't really thinking about doing it, but I'll toss rating it. I give Spanish silver like a 9 out of 10. My only problem with collecting like Spanish coins is after you get into the modern period where you have like Franco and stuff, there isn't really anything to collect during that period. So their coins tend to be a little older, which makes them a little bit more expensive and a little bit more rare. But they're not impossible. They're still around quite a bit because Spain was a big country and they've made a lot of silver coins. Second country, this is going to be a long video, sorry guys, we're hitting up is the UK. This one's going to be kind of a bit of a mixed bag for a couple of reasons. So the big thing about the UK is it has a lot of empire stuff, which we aren't showing. And they had a lot of kings and queens during this period, and they were very stable. So before 1920, they were at 90%, and they were really high. So these three coins are at 90%, and they are really cool. You have like Victoria, this is a bit beat up, but you can get the image. And you have like George the Third here, and William the Fourth. William the Fourth, yeah. It's a really tiny one. And you have all these weird measurements because they used their what do they call that system? It's not the imperial system, but either way. So you get these weird like 1.5 I don't know if this is penny or pence. I think this is pence. This is a shilling, crown, half crown, florin, 3 pence. I guess you have all these. This is 1.5 pence. Yeah. These really weird increments that you just don't get from other countries, so that's really cool. They have a lot of different designs. They don't tend to be like crazy, but they tend to be pretty nice on the eyes. Like this one's quite nice. That's not really focusing that well. I'm gonna try and get that to focus a bit better for you guys. Like this is a pretty nice design. This is also like 200 years old, right? And they're very advanced for their time. But if they're 1920, you get 50% silver, which is a little iffy if you're trying to like do like stacking wise. You know, like you have to stack like twice the amount. So like you'd have to get 4 of these to match this amount of silver, and that's going to take up a ton of room. So that's a little unattractive. It also kind of gives it like this weird toning I find you get with a lot of like lower percentages. And it just doesn't as pretty on the eyes. It's not bad. It's not ugly by any means, but it is something. So I think UK is pretty good, but I wouldn't say they're as good as Spanish. I'd probably give the UK like a, to me personally, probably like a 7.5. You know, if you're just focusing on like the 90% before 1920, I'd probably give them like an 8. I do wish maybe, yeah, I don't know why I'm not giving them a higher grade, but I don't like them quite as much. And then after that, I just have to, because the 50% silver it's like okay, and it doesn't look bad. It's kind of over. It's cheap to collect, I'll say that. The UK 50% is so cheap to collect, and I think it's actually undervalued pretty often. The 90% is not undervalued, and is usually decently margined by, because it's older first off than it could be 1920, so you're at least going 100 years no matter what, and England's kind of a hot country for a lot of people. So if you want anything really past, even George the Third is pretty expensive to pick up, and William the Fourth, they can be pretty expensive to pick up coins for in decent condition. So even Victoria, to be honest. But I think it's a good country. A lot of weird. I like the little difference in coins, like the different system is fun. So, alrighty, next country. So yeah, we'll say 7.5 for them. If you want to go before and after, 8 before, 7 after. We have Germany. Oh, that's the Dutch coin. Sorry, guys. That's a sneak peek. This is personally like my favorite, so I'm going to be a bit biased here. First things first, we should probably address it off the table. Yes, you will get some stuff during the World War II period with not happy memories and stuff. And, you know, it's not, I don't want to support this in any way, because I don't. I will say the one nice thing about this era, it's a part of history for sure, and I think that is very cool. This is definitely a very major part of history, even if it's bad. But it also has very low premiums, I find. You can, because some people don't want to touch this stuff. Some people has like a curse on it. So sometimes you can get this for like pretty much melt value, and it's high 90%. It holds pretty good. The one thing I'm going to bring up, because this coin has it, and I have this coin here that also has it. As I was talking about like the Spanish, how they have silver like colors, I find German silver comes out with like darker coloration. I don't know why, but I find the silvers they use tend to come out darker. Not always. Like we have some pretty bright coins here. Like this is pretty bright. That's not going to focus on it now, is it? But I do find that they tend to get darker tones. But yeah, so that's something about that. And then I like to collect Empire and before. I didn't bring anything before, but it's very interesting. It's just there's so much to collect from. You know, you have the Holy Roman Empire, and there's just all these little states. So you can collect every state, which I'm trying to do, but it's going to take me the rest of my life. They do have weird silver values, a lot of them, so that's a little bit of a downside. You know, if you're trying to stack silver, I wouldn't go before the Empire, because even like the big countries like Prussia goes like 75%, a little bit before the Empire, like not too long before. But the Empire is all 90%, which is very nice, and that's why I like to collect it. It's very stackable. It's nice big sizes. It does have decent premiums, but I don't find the premiums are too bad. If you keep your eyes open, sometimes they can go high, sometimes they can. And the other thing about the Empire that's fun is you have all the different princes, because it was still like it was more federation, kind of like, it's kind of like commemoratives from the states. If you collect the USA coins, I think it commemoratives for each state, they kind of have that, but it's just they were minted by different kings in the empire because each state would have a king. And the main one was Prussia, and that would be him. And there would be a lot more of those. They're not really There's not really too many premiums on any with Wilhelm. There's a couple who commemoratives, but that's a different story. But then you have different kings. Like this is from Saxony, and this one's worth quite a bit more because there wasn't as many made. Like this one, there's probably like millions, and this one might be. I think this one has a million or so. But there's vintages all the way down to like 5,000 for some of these silver and gold coins. And then you also have just regular marks. You know, you also have their different designs at the time. So this is early German Empire, and this is late. And they also have half marks, and there's 50 centimes. 50. It's not centimes. I don't know what it is though. There's a 50 cent. It's just the same thing, almost basically, but it's different. So I think Germany's really fun. It has a lot of variety. It's kind of, if you like the commemorative stuff from the U.S., I think the Empire is like a great little. It's not as you don't get as cool stuff, but you just get different kings. But it's quite cool. It makes it kind of fun. And then, like I said, World War II is, for the most, they do have some lower percentages in World War II, but low premiums for the most part. Interwar period is really weird, and they kind of have oddball, from like 1918 to like 1935, 36, whatever you want to call it, probably 34 more so. They have a lot of weird coins with like weird percentages, and it's just because their economy was so fried at the time. But there is quite a bit of collector coins there. And they have some weird designs, and they're pretty unique for the most part, but it's not like a high percentage. If I had to give Germany one though, I'd probably give them a 9. I guess I would probably fault them for the same thing. It's like they don't have anything really past World War II. There's nothing silver. That kind of sucks. And obviously, if they didn't have such a dark past, I don't really super like collecting these. Like I don't mind it if I can get a good deal, but I'm not gonna premium on these because I don't know. I don't really like that. And yeah, that's that. Also, I will say one quick thing. Most of the Empire stuff I feel like is more valuable than it's given usually. For one, I think even though like this has like a million mint, but these coins also had to go through like 2 world wars in a country that was like ruined in the second one, so not probably as many of these alive as a lot of other countries like the US that didn't have like that type of stuff. So it's cool. So yeah, we're gonna end them with a 9. We're gonna move on to the Dutch, which I showed. I don't have too much, so you get 1 Dutch gulden. I think the Dutch have pretty good coins. They go 72% for most of their stuff. I don't know when they started that, but yeah, so and that's cool. It's not really a great percentage. Like I don't mind it. I think below 70 is starting to really push it for me, and a 70 is kind of like iffy because I collect some 75% silver. Like the Philippines under U.S. control is 75%, and I like to stack that just because I think it's very pretty. So I'm not saying 70% is bad, but it is something to keep in mind. Like you need a little bit more of this to add up to like a U.S. quarter, right? That's 90%, or a Canadian 80%, or vice versa, whatever. They do tend to have a lot of the same designs, I'll say, the Dutch. Even throughout their empire stage, they've really kept very similar designs. They kept a lot of the same coinage until they went into the euro. They have a couple queens and kings. What's her name? I don't remember. Juliana was around for a very long time, so she's on a lot of coins. You'll see her like going up to like 1920, I think. But to be honest, I quite like the Dutch silver. It's not bad. I don't collect it personally, but I think it's quite nice. It has a very bright tone, I usually find. Very nice. It's pretty cheap usually. Unless you're getting into that older stuff. That stuff starts to get a little bit higher, but I don't even think then it's too bad. I could be wrong about that. If I'm wrong, correct me. But at least like the 72% stuff, not very expensive. And one thing I will say, you do sometimes find these in like junk bins and stuff a little bit more than other countries, even though they're silver. So something to keep an eye out for. It's not as much. Like this is probably like more like $3 instead of like 5 or 4. Like this is usually like $1 behind like what a quarter would be. But yeah, not bad designs. They don't really change much, which kind of sucks, but decent percentage. I'd probably give like the Netherlands like a. I think I'm gonna give them like a 7. You know, 7 for 72%. I'll give them 7.2%. I think that's fair. I don't think they're like really wowy, but I don't think they're bad either. Next we got France. I have quite a bit of French stuff. We have like bulk silver, which this is pretty much what you would be stacking if you did French silver, because after this it's quite rare to get French silver. So 1918 I think is like the last year they really make a lot of French silver. They go to like non stuff, but it's nice. It's 83.5, so it's a decently high percentage. I don't think it's bad at all. I do think it kind of gets that toning that the German coins sometimes get, where it kind of gets like this, like you can probably tell it's quite dark, a lot of these. Even this guy, he's quite dark. And even this like French one here, this is like a pretty dark coin here from Napoleon. So they kind of have that darker thing. It must be like the mines in like that area. I do think France has some really pretty coins. I'll pull these up actually instead of just like sloshing them around the bottom. That's not a very pretty one. This one's quite nice. Yeah. And this is by the same. This probably looks somewhat familiar to some of you. This is the same engraver as the guy who did the Walking Liberty dollar. Pretty similar design, but I do think the French coins have quite a nice like elegance to them. Sometimes they're a little plain. Like I think this is kind of this is a little boring. This is very pretty though. And France goes all the way back. Like they've been around for a long time. You know, before that, like you go collect their big coins. So this is 5 francs from 1875. They tend to like this kind of crest design a lot. They do this a lot. Like Napoleon's is like almost the same, and these are 6 years apart, and they do these a lot. They started to change it before Napoleon, so that's something to keep in mind, I guess. But they have nice beauty. They're nice high silver quality. I think these are all 90%, these 3, so that's nice. You know, this is Napoleon III. It's a bit different. He tried to. This was kind of like the in design of the time, and then Napoleon just did a very basic coin with him. Oh, one thing I will say for sure about the French coins, their mint marks are one of the coolest things. So they, instead of doing like just like a letter, which they still do sometimes, like this is an A, and this is an A down here, but they also have like these little mint marks here. They do like these little mint marks with like designs, and I think it's really cool, and I wish more countries did it. It's probably one of the best parts about French coins, actually, to be honest. But I'm not. The only thing I don't like about France is I think their coins are pretty, but they don't really have a wide difference between them. Like you can see, like these coins, all the same. That's kind of how they go. A lot of like smaller denominations, they'll do like all the same for one smaller denomination, and then they kind of change it up, and that's a little bit of a downgrade. So yeah, and like I said, they kind of stop after 1918 to really make a lot of silver coins. There's probably a few, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. There's also a lot of history of France, so that's cool. But if I had to give them a ranking out of 10, I'd probably give them are they better than Britain? I would probably say I'd say they're probably equal to Britain, like 7.5. Yeah. Next is going to be a quicker one. We have Swiss francs. These are really, really good for stacking. They're 83.5, which isn't high, but they made them until 1964, and then we're making them back in like 1860, I think, or something. And they've kept the same design all these years. This is still legal currency also, which is very cool. I don't know if the silver is, but I think they are. And they're really pretty. They look good. They have this nice, quite bright look to them usually, even if they're a little beat up. They're not really fancy by any means, but they're basic. They look good, and they have low premiums, and they're high percentage. They don't really have much for designs. Like to be honest, there's like almost none that I can think of before, unless you just get like old Swiss, and then that's a different story. I don't know too much about that market, but I haven't seen any, so I imagine they're not not cheap. Usually stuff you don't see is a little bit more expensive. But if you just want to get like Swiss, like stacked Swiss stuff, I think it's pretty good. To be honest, I'd give Swiss silver like a rating of these francs. Probably like a 7. But if I was gonna say for stacking, I might even give them like a 9 for stacking because I think they're really pretty. They stack well, like they're good sizes. They look good, nice bright silver. But if you're collecting and you want to actually like collect stuff, like you want to be like, oh, I got like a coin from Napoleon, stuff like that. I don't think Switzerland's the best country for that. So this is more like a stacking country, to be honest. But really good stacking country. All right, we're kind of going a little bit more east now. We're going to do Russia, which is not as good today. So I don't support anything they do. Just want to quickly say that. You know, and yeah. So I did toss a really old coin in here because I just wanted to show it because it is kind of everything you need to know if you're kind of thinking about collecting like Russian. I can't grab this. There we go. Russian coins past a certain date. And this, let's see if this shows up. This is a Russian denga or wire money. This is like a little guy on a horse. They're very tiny and they made them for quite a bit. They're making them in the 1600s. And there's a little writing on this side. It's so hard to get. Sorry, guys. There we go. But this is something you might, if you're really, really getting interested in like collecting Russian, like throughout the years, like trying to do like the whole empire, you're gonna have to do Russian wire money. So if this is not your thing, Russia might not be for you. But if it is your thing, which is kind of, I think it's kind of cool. It's very different. It's very small. It's very unique. It gets people's attention because it's very odd. Like this is an Indian headset. It's quite tiny, and it's thinner too. So that's something to keep in mind. They are cool. They're fairly cheap, so that's good, but something to keep in mind. And then you get to like more traditional like Russian Empire stuff. They're like the only ones that brought out like copper coins for. I just realized they have all these unique designs on their coppers. They have really big coppers too, which is kind of nice. 5 kopecks, and then this is like a quarter kopeck. I think they have a lot of one thing that's weird about Russia, which I don't think a lot of other countries really have, except for maybe like Germany, is they change designs like no tomorrow. They love to change stuff up. So like 1800 to like 1900, there's so many different coins, which is really fun. So I think it is very cool in that aspect. Their silver is pretty nice. I don't think it's a full 90, thinking about it, but it has nice toning usually. And it can look very pretty. They have a very nice coat of arms that's very intricate. Try and get that as close as I can. There you guys go. And this is like 15 kopecks. They go like 10, 15, 20. I don't think there's a 25, but there could be for all I know. 50, and then they have rubles. And the big coins are quite pretty. Yeah. I'm going to talk about this before I get to the Soviet stuff. For the most part, this area is kind of cheap, kind of not. It really depends on what you're buying. The smaller stuff I find is fairly reasonable. The bigger rubles can be pretty expensive. The coppers are all over. Some are expensive, some are not. You know, you can get like coppers that are like hockey pucks and like 60 grams, so they can be really cool. But they obviously are going to be worth quite a bit. But I do think that's really cool. And then you have them obviously in the Russian, when they switch to the Soviet Union, CCCP here, that's what that is in Russian. This is Lenin. This is an anniversary edition from like 1964, I think. I think it says on the side. 67. Oh, I was close. And that's when they started it right there, 1917. So all the coins after 1917 are going to be the Soviet Union, and they tend to be a completely different market than this, the Russian Empire market. So it is something to keep in mind. There is some silver coins they make early on, more so. They don't really make them too much later on that are very pretty. They use a lot of like, they're very communist propaganda kind of like look, which looks very nice. Like they'll have like guys working on anvils with like the sun rays. That's the one I really like. They also have some cool World War II coinage, and there's some really rarities in there because, well, they were getting attacked by the Germans and they didn't really have time to mint a lot of coins. So some of those World War II Soviet coins can be worth like tons because there's like 1,000 made or two here. But yeah, so that's kind of the Russian coins. I don't know how feasible they are to stack because I don't know what you would really stack with. Like all I can think of is like Copex might be cheap enough to stack a bit with. Like I have a fair bit of them. I have a lot of 10s though. I don't really have anything above 10 besides this 15. So that's something to keep in mind. I wouldn't really consider them a stacking country like some. Like I think all the rest of these countries you could stack fairly reasonably. Yeah. I don't know about Russia though. Russia's a little tricky to stack, I would say. But they do have a lot of different designs and stuff, so I'd probably give them like a. If you're not stacking, this is kind of the opposite of the Swiss. I think if you're not stacking, 8, because I think they're very. I think maybe like a 9. They're very interesting to collect if you're not stacking. They have a lot of different designs, a lot of different like, and they change their coins up really heavy. But if you are stacking, like to be honest, maybe like a 6. Like I don't know, so we'll land in the middle of like 6 and 9, and say like 7 total. That's really where you want to end though, right? Because collectors and stackers are similar, but they also kind of they have their differences. So if you're collecting, super recommend Russia. If you're stacking, maybe avoid it. I don't know. Maybe if there's a Russian coin you can stack, but I don't know anything. And it kind of comes because I think there's not really anything after 1917 that you could really stack. And they just don't make their way out here as often as other coins, I find, out to the Western markets. Maybe in Europe they're more plentiful, but at least in where I live in Canada, I really go into the U.S. market. They're just not very prevalent. Like I haven't found too many at all. We're going to another country in Eastern, maybe Central Europe, I guess they would consider it. We're just going to do Austria, which has a very strong silver market, I would say. And it has for many, many years. Very similar in ways to the German coins, except they don't have the individualness that the German coins have. They tend to have like one kind of look. So this is like a Thaler from 1863. Very pretty design. They almost always have this like type of design on it. Nice high percentages, like 90% for the most part. After World War One, they do tend to drop. So I think this one here is 30%, 60% or something. But they have a lot of lower percentages. So after World War II, they're not as great to collect if you're doing stacking. But they are cheap for the most part after World War II, so that's something to keep in mind. I will say one thing I don't like about Austria that I find none of these other countries really have is that they have major restrikes, modern restrikes. So you have to be careful because they'll sell Mary Teresa Thalers like no tomorrow, and some people think those are, I can't remember what date they actually supposed to be. It's like 18 something, because it's before Franz Joseph. So I think it might be like 1830. I'm thinking, I could be wrong, but people think those are real, and they'll try and sell them as real ones. So you have to know what you're doing a little bit. They are nice to collect. Also, the restrikes look really nice. They're not my thing to do restrikes. I think it's kind of a little weird. I think it can kind of confuse people, so I'm not super big into that. I think Austrian silver is really good. It doesn't have a ton of difference. Is my only thing. Like there's some unique coins, but they do tend to have a lot of the same designs, so that's a bit of a downgrade. And they've really only had like 2. They also ended 1918 Austrian-Hungarian Empire, so it does change after. So I guess you could argue that, but before that, I was going to say there's like only really 2 cheap-ish kings, emperors you could collect, and that's Franz Joseph, because he reigned from like, well, at least 1863 till World War II's end, and then you had Maria Theresa. I think I don't think I'm saying that right. The queen before, I think it's Mary Theresa. That doesn't right. That sounds like I think that's a Catholic lady. My bad. But they're both like reign really long. So getting a king before, that's going to be very expensive. So that's something to keep in mind. If I had to rate them, I think they have really nice. I think this is a nice design, so I'm not going to complain about too much. I do wish maybe it was a bit nicer. Their after World War One designs are a little bit to be desired. Usually, I don't find they're crazy nice. Not bad. Like this is actually quite nice design, but it's a little funny looking. So what I would probably give them is I'm gonna give them like a 7.5, maybe even a 7. Uh, Stacking wise, you can stack their stuff. The other stuff doesn't have high premiums, so that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, and then we're gonna quickly go over some honorable mentions here, quick guys. I only have one coin to show here, but we're gonna do other like smaller countries because this video has to wrap this video up. This is a Belgian 5 franc, quite nice. Definitely very similar to the French francs. Kind of, don't copy my homework and then kind of copy my homework. Very similar. But a couple of countries that you can collect, I just don't have, or I don't have a lot of, or these tend to be a bit smaller. Would be also Italy and Scandinavia. Yeah, Italy and Scandinavia are kind of two bigger ones I want to bring out. Italy is not bad. I do find the silver is a little hard to find, but it also has high premiums, but it's pretty nice. And Scandinavia has weird percentages and they kind of bounce around a lot. Sweden and Denmark are the silver ones. Norway, you have to go back a little bit older to get silver in it, I think. They can be okay to stack. I'm not a big fan of Scandinavian looks, though. I don't find their coins are very attractive. Italian coins I find are very nice. Sorry, I was kind of meant to say that before, but to be real with you guys, and not write a script, so I kind of wing it as I go, and that way you get more of a genuine experience. And then the other countries I want to say, this is actually the small country, shout out now, is Belgium. I think Belgium has some pretty cool coins you can collect. They're pretty recent, so you don't have to go back too far, so that's kind of almost a plus, because you can pretty much do a full Belgium collection for rather affordable. If you're doing every year and stuff, you're probably gonna have some expensive ones. There's probably like 1 or 2 coins that are not cheap that I don't know about because it's not my super forte. I just recently got some Belgium coins. You'll see the video coming up this week, probably on the Wednesday. Keep an eye out. So and I kind of like them, so I might keep them. I'm thinking. And then other countries, we got Greece. Greece has some really nice coins. We're not talking ancient Greece because those are a different market, basically. They didn't exist until like the 1800s when they were rebelled from the Ottomans. They've made a couple silver coins. They have some really nice designs. I will say that about Greek coins. Even after, the Greek coins are kind of a step up above most coins, I would say, for looks. So that's nice. They're not always high percentage. I do know they have some lower percentage silver, but they're very pretty. They're not as plentiful though. Another one from that area is Romania. Romania, I always see their silver coins kind of kicking around in the background. They have low premiums. I haven't been wowed by their design personally. I think they're a decent percentage, but yeah, their designs just don't really, they don't really do much for me. But it might be because I'm looking at more like modern stuff. I haven't really seen like an old Romanian coin. And then my last small country is probably Portugal. You have escudos, which look very nice. And then before that, they have tons of coins from their empire days and stuff. So they have a lot of cool coins. I don't really find people collect escudos and stuff to stack. They're just a little bit too rare. Though I will say the Portuguese market is one of the lowest premium markets. If you want to get into Spain, but you can't afford Spain, Portugal is like the poor man's Spain for coin collecting. Their coins are so affordable. I recently got into them pretty much for that reason alone, that I really like Portuguese and Spanish coins, and I realized the Portuguese coins were like a quarter of what a Spanish coin of equivalent stuff would be. Like, they're very cheap. They're very pretty looking, a lot of them. They have high percentages, and yeah, they're great. Yeah, I find Portugal is really good. Low premiums. They're just not quite as plentiful, and the escudos after a certain period do drop in silver percentage. I think it's 60% or 65%, which, like I said, is a little low for me, but they're very pretty. And then quick shout out, like, obviously there's going to be other countries out there, that they're going to have their own different types of choices. They're going to have like we could say like Serbia. Like, I know Serbia's made silver before, and I know that I'm missing some countries like Luxembourg and I'm trying to think, like Ireland probably. Yeah, Ireland has silver coins. They have like animals on theirs. Poland, I didn't touch. Poland's kind of weird because they were conquered, and I don't really see too many silver Polish coins pop out. To be honest, it's kind of a smaller one, I guess. I don't really know what's going on there with the Polish market. Um, Maybe I'm wrong. Um, I'll make a nice little, but yeah, there you go. These are like kind of all like the big European coin types I think you can collect. Maybe not Belgium, but we'll leave it on there because it looks nice. You got your British, Spanish, German, Dutch, and I don't think it's wrong to collect. Oh, I didn't rate the foreign guys. Whatever. They're all like around like 7, probably 5 to 8. I'd say Portugal's like an 8 to be honest. Almost Portugal's really nice and really cheap. So, what was I gonna say? Yeah. This isn't me. Like, if you collect like British coins and you don't like my rating, like I'm sorry. It's just my personal opinion. I was being real with you guys. If you want to state why you think it is, feel free. I'll discuss it in the comments. I don't mind. But I also think it's good for people to collect everything, especially with today's U.S. market. I think the U.S. market is really expensive for what it is, and that's why European market is a little cooler because you get all these different designs. Like, look at all these, and none of these are really out of this world. Like, the most expensive coin here is about $100. Like, I'd probably say these three are about 100. And they're old, like 1813. That'd be like a really expensive, American coin, straight up. This size, that'd be like really expensive. That'd be like $1,000. So maybe not that much, but yeah. And that's all. In the comments, say what you like. If you watch the video to the end, might as well toss a subscribe, maybe like it. I'd really appreciate it. I know the channel's pretty small, but I do want to grow this thing to be huge one day. I want to revitalize the coin hobby, get the young people in here, and we'll have a fun time. So yeah, keep collecting, guys. Try out some European silver. All right, see ya.